I gotta bring some creativity, cause I got my Leo friend just rocking with me. Traditional Chinese medicine, you know, the practitioner, acupuncture, yo. Check the flow, I'ma needle you too, cause I got mad lyrics from my tongue, how I do. Dame lengua, the boca muy malo, but don't you understand, I'm not searching for tomorrow. Right now it's lunes, you see, the moon's a Scorpio tonight, so it's kind of intense, B. But that's all right, but really that's okay. We're gonna bring you some education on your health, okay? She's an expert, you know, she's worked on me, so I can claim it and talk about it real, baby bro. And listen up, ladies, you gonna see how to work with the menopause from my me, B. Miss Diaz, you know, she's a Sagittarius moon. That's happening in a couple days soon. I want you to really just know knowledge is love, and that's the way that we go. So check the flow, Heart of Healing AZ. She breaks it down. She takes care of the entire body easily. Can't you see? Naturally, she even helped heal the E. So tonight, we're going to rock and roll, and real knowledge going to take control. So it's knowledge is love, and I'm soaring like a dove. These bars, they come from up above. So what do you say? 3:27, time to start the show. Like Burt Bly, 11th, third, throw curveballs, can't you see? But tonight we're just giving you straight knowledge, B. Knowledge. What's the deal, everybody? How are you? It is episode 327 of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And I had to kick a little special flow for my amazing friend, but she is the real deal. She is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, regular acupuncture, Korean acupuncture, esoteric acupuncture, Japanese acupuncture. She's getting her doctorate. She's an acupuncturist and really a gifted healer. I present to you, Miss Aeimee Diaz. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Thank you so much, Eric. You know, I really appreciate all that you be doing. Like 327 shows. You got so much you've been doing since you come back. You know what I'm saying?
Back from the under.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And you can tell the people better than most because you saw me before, but then you saw me literally not too long after I got home.
That's so true.
I've come a long way, right?
You sure have. And you're coming with the force, let me tell you. When you say, you know, knowledge is love, like you bring it to everybody. I love your shows. I just want to let you know that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, my friend.
So thank you for having me on here. I'm really happy to be on here. And I know I invited a whole bunch of people. You know, this is a really important time in our lives. You know, times are changing, right? Times are changing.
That's the understatement, right?
The Empress, thank you for rolling through.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think we're going to have a lot of people here. I've been telling people about it, but you know, times are changing. But what is not changing is our need for health and amazing practitioners and healers like yourself. And I say that with all heart and seriousness because not only have you worked on me, you know, after coma, but obviously before. But I tell people all the time, there are a lot of people who have different claims and titles. Oh, I do this and I do that. But not everyone's called to be a healer. And you, my friend, truly have a calling. So I want to thank you for that. But I want you to share with people, tell everybody all that you do and what is Heart of Healing AZ?
Sure. Thank you. All the things that I do, wow, you know, I do all the, and Chinese medicine encompasses a variety of different things, right? So if we think about a tree of what Chinese medicine would be, then the branches would be a couple of different ones. You got acupuncture, which is mostly what people recognize Chinese medicine to be, but there's also food therapy, which, you know, in Western, it would be considered nutrition, but we look at it as very different, right? Very, very different. We don't look at it as calorie based. We look at it as energetics, right? We also have Tui Na, which is the Chinese medical massage, which is also bone setting, where chiropractic originally comes from. We also have herbal pharmacopoeia, right? So the herbology part of it.
Yeah.
We also have the mysticism part, right, which has to do more with the esoteric aspect of looking at things. We got the energetics, which is the qigong part, right? And then of course we have different parts of the martial arts that go under those areas. Cupping goes in the tuina and gua sha as well.
You know, I
So,
love that cupping.
right? And then we also have moxibustion, which is a burning of the herbs in different parts of the body. But
Mm.
you know, even the medicine has adapted, right? Now we have you know, they do injections, herbal injections into different points of the body.
Really? I didn't know they
Yeah,
were doing herbal injections. Wow.
yeah. When I was out there in 2012, the doctor actually let me do some injecting while I was there, which was really cool. So, you know, I got to inject into one of the points, Zusan Li, which is stomach 36. It's a very well-known point, right, on the leg. And we use it for a variety of different things. But so, you know, one part was to inject. So, you know, it helps to stimulate the point, but also having the herb go into that. Obviously, it's getting into the bloodstream faster.
That is so fascinating. And you know what's interesting, right? You know, right now we've got these wild planetary alignments, and I've been telling my audience and everyone and my clients with Pluto and Aquarius to 2044, and then right now the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, which is the health axis, until July 2026. But there's a lot of technological advancements coming up in Western medicine, and I wonder how that plays with Eastern and the traditional Chinese philosophies, specifically to things like, because Uranus is going to Gemini on the 7/7 portal, right? And
Mhm.
so I think of the technology. What are your thoughts on stem cells? And is there any place in Chinese medicine where stem cells are used or considered to be positive?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, they in China they do a lot of research because one is they have free medicine, free healthcare out there, right? So because of that, they're able to do tons of research, and so stem cells in conjunction with acupuncture works fabulously, honestly, because it allows for the body to be able to adapt to it and to utilize what it needs to do faster healing process. So there's some real benefit to stem cells. And it's again, it always goes back to the practitioner and how it's being utilized, right? So, you know, the great part about Chinese medicine is that everything is customized. Everything is personalized. So what that means is varying on who it is, where you are in your life, and where you're moving to, what are your goals, but where you're moving to and what you're trying to get to, you know, all of that is going to be part of the treatment plan. So there's different types of Chinese medicine practitioners. Example being, there are some who are just specifically doing acupuncture,
Right, right.
and they're just like they're the clinical type of acupuncturist, which works really well, right? And then there's others who will do a combination of things like you know, herbs and acupuncture, right? Then you have a combination of even more herbs, acupuncture, and body work. So,
Mm.
you know, me, I'm one of those type of persons. I really love the medicine, and I'm studying all of it, right? So, to me, like I'm constantly learning more and more about all of it. Last year, I just received my doctorate in Chinese energetic medicine. I
Yay!
right
That's
from
such an accomplishment,
it,
and
it really is. It really is.
and I love your thirst for knowledge and learning, and I commend you for that because some people stop like at a level and be like, okay, I've mastered this, that's enough, right? You embrace new information and new knowledge, and that's what makes you such a intuitive and organic healer. You know what I mean? I really I see that in you, and I so respect it. Now, Hannah, I just got to say, I know from my technical difficulties I had yesterday because I did a live yesterday, but when I went live, I went under our show. And
Oh,
so this show, so I'm noticing people are starting to come in now. And I think, because I checked on my phone, I think that I don't know. I think there may have been a little technical difficulty. I know we are live because I see people in the chat. So we'll get to people in the chat, but I think maybe people are going to start to be, pulling in more now. So I just wanted to, say that. But where do you think, like, because that's fascinating in terms of you continuing the education and growing and healing. But so what is new in traditional Chinese medicine, even separate from like stem cells, that you're integrating? And when you prescribe for people, I know it's like a holistic thing, but will you look at the esoteric and the energy field, and as well as the needling and maybe cupping and other things they may want or need? Do you, in adjacent with it, prescribe or recommend herbs as well to your clients?
Absolutely, Eric. The thing when we're looking at it, you have a couple of questions in there.
Yeah.
One was, how is the medicine being adaptive, right? How is it adapting to where we're adapting, right? The interesting thing, fortunately, like where I am right now in my life, like it's taken me 14 years to actually start my doctorate for acupuncture and oriental medicine. I waited. And the reason why I waited was because I wanted to specifically like hone into endocrinology. And so I couldn't find anything. The school that I'm at, Five Branches University, is an excellent school. We have some top level teachers there. And so because of that, some of them are at the leading edge of a lot of different fields in Chinese medicine.
Wow.
One of the teachers that from one of the classes was immunology, right? And so if we look at immunology, let's think about this, right? 2020 was a huge shift for us, right?
Yeah.
We had a biological, like viral infection that was like a pandemic, epidemic type of thing, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, that's not normal. That is not normal because it was laboratorily made.
Yep.
What that happens and it's brought into humans, that changes our genes. So the viruses are changing, our bodies are changing, the earth is changing. So because of that, like our medicine had to think like, whoa, wait a minute. It looks like one way, but it's presenting a whole different way.
Right.
And one of the big things, right? Because if we think about, viral infections, there's heat, there's inflammation type of thing. But one of the things that was a continual run through was how it was affecting the blood. And we never saw this in viral infections in the past. So it was very, very different. And so that is how our medicine is changing. I'll give you another example. Now that I'm like I told you, I'm moving into my doctorate program. I just applied for an externship to study under this doctor who lives in France, and I got invited. I got welcome. I got accepted. So I'm going to France in July. Thank you. This is a big one.
Yeah.
So I get to study with this incredible doctor who is an ophthalmologist, acupuncturist. Okay. Now, this is new for our medicine because our medicine, we don't really have that specialty, right? The thing is that, if we look at myopia, there's not too much that you could do for myopia. So, which means this is where Chinese medicine can come in and start making some shifts in that. And so it allows for people to be able to, have eyesight for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So these are just certain ways of how, Chinese medicine is making some huge progress and change in the healthcare system.
So wait, are you telling me that God made this connection for you so that you could come back to Arizona and help heal my eyes?
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hear about the different honeys and the eye bright and these different herbs, and I take, vitamin A, eye bright. Oh God, what's the other one I take? I forget the names, but I take different things. But I've heard about different, honey or herbs that you can actually put like in the eyeball, that kind of clear up the lens, right, in the
Right.
back of the retina. So I'll be fascinated to see what you find out about that. So let's address some people in the chat. I'm going to get into some of your astrology placements, and then we're going to get really into what it means when you say for the collective to build their own health team, because that's
Yes.
fascinating to me. So why don't you see who's here in the chat and see what questions we have?
All right. Let's see. I just went ahead and said thank you and welcome for coming in. We have Mark Matthews. Thank you, Mark.
What's up, Mark?
We got Chantel Jones, Big B. Thank you. And CC Naturelli at 29.
Yeah.
Teresa Miller, C.
These are all my amazing regulars. They're the best people ever.
I love it. I love it. If y'all have any questions, please don't be shy. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I told you, and especially you ladies here, we're going to get into the pre-menopause, menopause, and post-menopause. She knows. But any health questions, because, I talk about health because I experience amazing people like her. And then one of her colleagues that works with me on the regular, Jose Montoya, and other people. And I've learned so much about health because I was so sick with valley fever and then COVID. So, I had to learn, right? There's sometimes, right? I tell people, I didn't know nothing about NDEs until I actually had one myself.
Right. Well, that's how we learn.
That's how, yeah, I know. I tend to do it the hard way though, but no more, right? Now I like to learn the easy way. But you are an amazing Capricorn rising, the Leo sun in 8th house, just like the Taylor twins. So I know all your growing up secrets. and the Sagittarius moon, like my wifey. So, but we talked about this on the first show, and you guys, I put it on my homepage. You guys can watch episode 214 when Aeimee was on during the summer, and it's really great. So go back after this and watch that. But your moon Neptune conjunction in the 12th house, how much for you do you sense from that placement alone? Because that would connect you to being this dynamic healer with Chinese medicine. But how is the healing intuitive and spiritual for you?
Oh my goodness. It's my very existence, to be honest with you. It's like the awareness is incredible. Even though, honestly, Eric, even though one may have the knowledge, it's not until you start practicing it, like taking it on within your own life, that really creates the magic within. The awareness that I have is truly only because of the practices that I do. I rise up, I go to my altar and I do my spiritual practice, do my prayer time, right?
Yeah.
And move right into my qigong, my yoga, my meditation time in the morning. Those things are essential for me, to be honest with you. Like I cannot exist without. It's the awareness is so important, because in order to move and manipulate chi when you're working, anybody can put a needle into a person. That doesn't mean anything.
I told them that the other night. I've been to many acupuncturists, but Dr. Fuzang in Chinatown in New York, you and Jose are the only three that I trust, but that are like real gifted healers. Because I've been to another acupuncture here in Arizona, and I don't, name no names, talk bad about nobody, but like it was just like sticking needles in my body. There was no effect, like it was nothing.
Yeah. So you have to put your consciousness into it. Right. And you have to manipulate the chi. You have to know how to move it. I'm speaking to the points and connecting points together. And once I have the needles in, and I'm checking pulses in between when I'm putting the needles in, just to see how everything's feeling.
Yeah.
There's even more that is involved. Sometimes I'll do qigong right up on top of that, which helps to move things even faster and deeper, especially when somebody is working through some like really heavy stuff, right? Whether they're detoxing on a spiritual level, whether they're trying to transition into a whole different phase into their lives, cord cutting, like there's some serious stuff, right? So it's a combination of things. I want to address GG3 Empress, her question is, can you explain more about esoteric acupuncture and what drew
Wait, Gigi
you
just
to
read my mind. That was going to be the question I was going to ask you next.
Oh, she's
Esoteric,
good
yes.
like she's
I
good
love
like
Go ahead, Gigi.
So I'll tell you, I met a gentleman. He's a doctor. His name is Mikio Sankey, and he is like the dude for esoteric acupuncture. Okay, and I met him about 20 years ago at a conference, and I was walking down the hall, and I asked him. I didn't know he was the teacher. I asked him. I said, "Do you know where the classroom is?" He said, "Yes, down this way." So I'm following him, and he looks over at me and he says, "We've met before," and which is kind of trippy, right? So we walk in. I sit down, and I see him continuing to move forward, and he's the teacher, and what he taught us blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time I've ever saw anything of the sorts. I'm like brand new, right? Brand new into all of this.
Right.
And I shouldn't even have been in that class, but apparently, I was supposed to be in that class, right?
Are no accidents.
Right, no accidents. So what he does is he creates sacred grids on a person through sacred geometry.
Yes.
And so ever since that time, I've been using that form of acupuncture, but in my own way, because you start creating your own. And even still to this day, like when I do my training, right? Like when I do my Qigong training, I'll create a crystal grid, right? So I have my mat, and then I'll have a crystal grid, and when I go to my altar, I get my stones, I bless them, I activate them, I give them a task, I thank them, and set it all up with my candle, because you being a fire sign, you know how it is, Eric.
I know.
Fire, gotta have the fire. So and so I'm like, that presence is there, right? And so we're working together, but doing that esoteric acupuncture allows for you to be able to move through things in an esoteric way, meaning in a spiritual, emotional, and mental. Now, I saw Dr. Mikio Sankey just recently because it'd been time. And so this was the first time that I ever had gotten a treatment from him. And one of my Qigong brothers was like telling me, "You got to go see Mikio. You got to go see him." And so I got it set up, and it was divine time of how things were set up, because during that time, it was just a couple of weeks ago, so we were in that process of a huge shift, right, in March. And so when I went to him, I was driving from San Jose going down to LA, and I came to realize what I needed to focus on, right? And it was something that I had to deal with for 40 some years, right? It was a pattern of mine that I no longer needed. And so I brought this to the table. And this is what you want to do when you're doing things like esoteric acupuncture or even acupuncture. You bring these things to the table so that you can process them, right? And so as soon as he saw me, he was like, "Oh, you have a blockage here. You got this here. This is what's going on." Great. So I surrender when I get treated. I surrender fully. And so I leave my body. When I came back to my body, oh boy, I could feel the difference. I tapped in and was searching for that feeling, searching to see if I was still triggered by that. And I wasn't. And then the next day I went back to him, and then he saw me and he was like, "Oh, you're very different." And since then, I've not had. There was a change, and the pattern is no longer there.
That's incredible. So, but specifically though, right? Because you're working with the chakras that are really above the crown and the third eye, right? The higher chakras when you do the esoteric as well, right?
No, you're
No.
not. No, it's
Okay.
there's a variety of different types of ways that you could do it.
Okay.
So, it sometimes it is, and then sometimes it's you're opening up the heart chakra.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes sometimes there's a combination where you're combining the soul star with the earth star, or opening up the solar, right?
Wow.
So it's a combination of different things.
Okay.
Gigi, if I didn't answer your question, please please let me know, okay? And I'll go further into that.
Well, you want to take another question before we get
Yes.
into building your own health team? Because I'm
Let's see. Stephen Lascala says, "Hello, I use Neswit nectar honey to put into my eyes, those nose, ears, and just also burns a little in the eyes for a minute or two, but it works. Fabulous. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
what's
You
the name of the honey he said? Because maybe that's the one I was talking about.
Neswit, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly.
Yeah.
Nesuit nectar. What's really funny is that it's 20%. When it comes to eyes, it's 20% eyes and 80% brain.
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. And see, and that's what I trip out because, I have retinitis pigmentosa. So that is a sex-linked eye disease that I got through my mother, through my grandfather. And he went completely blind, they told me at 9 that I'd be blind by 21 and I'm 54 and I can still see. So I thank God every day. But, so that's where when I hear people talk about certain things with healing, they'll talk about cataracts or they'll talk about, macular degeneration.
Mm-hmm.
RP is a little different. It's a little deeper because it's about the rods and cones in the retina.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for science to come. I'm like holding the good fight. But I told you, right? It was so funny because it's not supposed to get better. But after being in coma for 40 days, when I came back, I had a slight improvement in my right eye.
Wow.
That's just God. You know what I mean? Like you can't make that up. So, but that's fascinating in terms of that. Now, share with us, what do you actually mean? Because I know we're having a lot of issues with Western medicine and have been way before 2020, but it was just intensified after all the confusion and chaos and all the foolishness. But what do you mean for us as a collective to find or build your own health team? Because I totally agree with you, but I want to hear what that means to you.
Yes. One of the things that we have to look at as healthcare, what it represents is that it looks as a business, right? And so that means that we are consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And as consumers, there's this very strange complexity that do we have power or do we not have power? Right? And so if we don't have power, then we need to learn what it means to be able to have that power. I've been kicked out of a clinic because I said no. And so that's having power.
Yep.
If that's what it takes for us to recognize, like, that is not what I want. I want something different, then you might get kicked out, right? And so what do? You reach out to your insurance company and you say, hey, you report that doctor and you let them know, because why not?
Yeah.
Right? We have to create these healthy boundaries for ourselves.
Yep.
And also so that people can recognize you can't get away with this just because you think it's the best thing that's for me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying and what I need.
Yeah.
So, the interesting thing about healthcare is that there's so many different options that we have nowadays, different stages in our lives, right? And we got cardiovascular, we have digestion, we have nerves, we have eyes and dental, right? We have musculoskeletal, we have pain management, right? And so if we look at how does integrated medicine look when we're taken into considering that aspect, right? Western and traditional type of medicine. Great part about Chinese medicine, a lot of it's being covered by insurance now, right? And so myself, I have definitely put myself out there to start taking insurance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I can tell you that there's not a lot of practitioners that do, because it's not always advantageous.
Right.
Monetary end, right?
Can I ask you real quick, not to interrupt, but I'm very curious because that you're being very open and honest about that. Do you feel that the insurance companies pay you the right rate or on time, or is that kind of a challenge for you?
It is a challenge.
Okay, that's what I figured.
It is. And let's just take, for example, Medicare, right? Medicare, you have to have either an MD or a nurse practitioner. And so I'm right now currently on the hunt. I'm looking for a nurse practitioner to work with me as a director, that I can work under her license, so that way I can help more people. So help people who have Medicare, they can come and see me.
Wow, that would be probably amazing.
Yeah, it would be very, very beneficial for people. I have a lot of elderly people, right?
Yeah.
And so it would be very beneficial for them. But insurance does make it difficult for people and practitioners as well. But I'm doing my best to accommodate that for them. So that's the good part about it, right? We have for veterans, we have Tri-West. So that's another avenue that people can do as well, right? So how do we set that up? How do we create a healthcare team, right? That everybody is looking at working together. A lot of my patients personally, they go see a chiropractor. You got your skeletal, you got your primary, right? Because you need a primary to be able to get your blood work done, which should be done on a yearly basis. Like those type of things are really important to maintain. If you are a woman, you should be getting your woman wellness check like every year. That's very important for us women.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, if you have any genetics that are involved, you need to make sure that you stay on top of those things. So the next thing that you want to make sure you have is a Chinese medicine practitioner, because that's going to help you to be able to transition into different phases of your life. And so what are we looking at when I say Chinese medicine practitioner? Now, at the very beginning, I talked about how there's certain acupuncturists who just strictly do acupuncture. But what you really want is somebody who's going to encompass at least acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine.
Right.
Because that marriage right there is going to help you to have the best of both, of most of the medicine.
Most definitely.
Right? And so, I always say 20% is what happens on the table, and then 80% is what you do outside. So when a patient comes to me, I have a person, we're going to talk about food. I had somebody earlier today. I'm like, you got, start working on getting some sea vegetables, right? It's not just your vegetables, it's also your sea vegetables. Out here in Arizona, we're super dry out here. So you need to be able to have more water, right?
Yeah.
And so to have water means more yin, you have more fluids. And so things like kelp, nori, wakame, dulse, those things are going to provide more of the sea vegetables, will help to supply with more of that yin nourishment that we need, so that we don't get so dry.
The last one, what is dose? I don't know that. What is that?
Dulse is like, it's DULSE, and a lot of times it's used as a salt substitute.
Okay.
It's red. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, that those type of examples, right, where you're able to look at what a person needs and then be able to say, okay, this type of exercise, right, these type of foods, these types of herbs, and this type of acupuncture, right, for at this season, at this time of your life, to help you.
Right. Because you do work with the energies of the seasons, right? And at different seasons, we may need different types of food, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we have, we're moving into that, from spring. For us, it's already hot, right?
Thankfully, it's going to cool back down this week. So I'm excited.
I'm so hoping for that.
Thursday's 81 and Friday's 76. I'm like, yay.
Yes. So, so right now, what do we have? We have artichokes, right? We have asparagus. So we have dandelion, right? So these are the type of things that are going to help with the liver and to keep the liver clean, to detoxing the liver, right? So Absolutely, always working with the seasons
Okay.
to help us to stay in balance. Because again, Chinese medicine is a medicine that is about space and time. You know, we look at a human as one that is between heaven and earth, right? And so, you know, just to point this out for you, Eric, and I know you're going to love this, is like we look at like, you know, the constellations that are involved during that time. You know, we look at the clock and we look at, okay, well, what time is it? You know, what are the energies that are involved at this time right now? So it can get pretty deep.
I love that. And see, and I wonder, like, could you connect that with even like the moon, right? The moon's in Scorpio today,
Mm,
right? And so I don't know if you've heard of this, but I would tell this to my clients because it's super beneficial. And I've been doing it off and on for quite a few months now. But whenever the moon returns back to your natal sun placement, that 60-hour period, and even if you just do it for the 48 hours, right, it's 2.5 days, the moon will be in a sign in a house. So for me, Virgo, for you, Leo, when it returns back, it's an opportunity to kind of reactivate and kind of cleanse and heal the body on a cellular level. So during that 60-hour period, right, there should be no drugs, no sex, no meat, no alcohol, no cursing. And it's, cleansing, right? And so what in Chinese medicine would that kind of represent for you or connect with you in terms of even the placement of the moon, or have you heard about the moon kind of coming back to your natal sun? Because I think that I've done it and it's really good, but then I've also done it where the moon was in Virgo and I didn't eat so good, and ooh, it jacked me up and I regretted it. So I know how powerful it is when that moon enters Virgo for me to really for 60 hours be like, whoop, we need
absolutely.
fruit, whatever it is, right?
Right, right. And so that is a beautiful thing to take into consideration because, you know, we just had this incredible full moon, right?
Yeah.
Incredible full moon. So like in my Taoist practice, you know, we're taught how to sip in, right? The full moon essence. And so I actually did teach that to a couple of people. But it's in those practices that you're able to take in that moon energy and you drop it in. As you sip it in, there's a certain process to it, right? But as you bring it in, you're bringing it down into the lower dantian. And the lower dantian exists about an inch and a half down the umbilicus, right? And so us being 3D, so it encompasses all of that lower chamber, right? That lower jowl chamber, all of that lower
So
chambers.
all like below the umbilical cord, like then wrapped around to the back?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's going to encompass all of that. And so we drop the energy down into there. We store that moon energy down into there. Now, the cool thing, because men cannot do this, but women can because, you know, women are special.
Yes, you are. Right? Because you have the womb.
Yes, exactly. And so the womb is connected to the heart. Okay. And so that's the cool blessing about a woman. So we're able to draw in that energy from that lower dantian, bring it up into the heart. Oh, are you kidding me? That's where all the healing starts taking place. You
Wow.
know what I'm saying? But that is also connected to the kidneys. Okay. If
Okay.
we're looking about the water element, right? The moon is the water element. So now we're talking about the kidneys. And so how do we resonate with the kidneys, right? And so one of the things that we could do is we could tap in and do like a meditation with our pinkies because every finger has an element.
Right.
Okay, so we can connect. The pinky is the water element,
Okay.
so we can do a meditation using this, right? And even listening to water while doing that,
Wow. So,
right?
okay, so then let me ask you this. So, staying with the pinky, would it be good to use and work with the pinkies when the moon is in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, like tonight in
Abs-
Scorpio?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. So I do want to address Temptress, the enchantress. She
Yeah.
has She has a very cool question here. I always feel as if I have energy being sucked from the back base of my neck, and I'm always exhausted with chronic fatigue. Would
Oh,
acupuncture help with this? Started my first session last week. Well, Miss Temptress, the Enchantress, that is very, very cool that you are aware of so much with yourself. And so I have to ask of this is, one of the things that you have to take into consideration is one, when did it start? Where were you? How did it start?
mm,
Right? What were the effects? When did you notice that switch? Right? Was there anybody around? And where were you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
mm.
Okay. So think about those things. But then, if you're saying that, there's a very strong possibility that, yes, you already know. Okay. That's correct. That there may possibly be some sort of an attachment or possible attack. Will the acupuncture help? Possibly. It depends on the practitioner. If the practitioner is capable of knows how to energetically draw that out and remove it, as well as it's not just a matter of removing it, it's also sealing is really important. Sealing is really important for protecting, right? So it's not just removing. You have
Well,
to seal.
I want you to share where you're at because I think Temptress may live, if I remember, Temptress may be out here in Glendale. So she
Oh,
may be able to come and see you.
okay.
Anybody in Arizona. So tell everybody your website and where you're actually located in Arizona.
Oh, okay. So I'm off 32nd Street and 51 Freeway, and
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 that's in Phoenix?
yes, in Phoenix. It's a nice area. I
Yeah.
love it. This morning I went out there and I went for a nice, beautiful, quick run at the mountains. It was great. Perfect weather.
Yeah.
And my website is heartofhealingaz.com.
Yeah.
So you can reach out to me that way. And then I also do long distance work as well. You
Oh,
know,
really? Okay, good.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys, please. So, okay. So now the room is really full. I talked about you with the Capricorn rising, Sag moon, conjunct Neptune in the 12th, and the Leo sun. And I want to get back into the health, and I want to talk about for the ladies the premenopause, menopause, and post. But just real quick, I just want them to, make you, too familiar. Tell them about mom and dad because you come from a lineage of healers. So just briefly explain, like, kind of how you were taught and how mom and dad both came at healing in their different ways.
Absolutely. So, I come from a family of healers, and, the day that I'm born is the day of the parteras according to the Mayan tradition. And the parteras are the doulas.
Mm,
Okay. And so, no, I don't do that type of work, but I love kids. And so that's one of the reasons why I have a nonprofit. DYNeducation.com is the nonprofit, working with kids to breaking the cycle of generational poverty. And
mm,
that's by disrupting self-limiting beliefs and laying a foundation of financial literacy, using the power of the mind and power of self, right? So our words and our thoughts are very important.
yes. So
So
important. I
yeah,
tell people all the time, cut the negative thoughts off in the head. Don't let
exactly.
them go down the escalator and dispensed out of the boca because
That's
that's muy
right.
malo.
That's right, Eric. We might not stop the first thought, but we can stop the second and the third.
And
Right.
never let it come out of the mouth. Cut
Exactly.
it off here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, my mother has ascended. My father is still alive, and we speak regularly. I love my pops. I'm able to, talk some real wild, deep stuff with him, which is
You
great.
told me he had like a IG or a TikTok, doesn't he, or something?
He does. He does. He's
Oh
got
my god.
TikTok. He's written a book. He's got another book that he's been working on. He's a pretty incredible guy. So, I love my dad. Very, very supportive. And he's the one that originally got me into, suggested for me to go into acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And so, in my family, we have seamstresses, and we had medicine people, and, some teachers. And so I always say to myself, instead of taking needle to thread, I take needle to flesh.
I love it.
So it's one of those things.
And I thank you for doing it. God knows. It's so important. Okay, let's talk to the ladies. Fellas, you can still listen, especially if you got a mother, a sister, a daughter, or a woman, or a wife in your life. Come close to the computer and bring your ear up. So drop the knowledge on how women, should be preparing or handling when they're going through the premenopause, the menopause, and the post. Because I know they're kind of all three a little bit different, right? So explain what remedies and, if they do need to change their diet, just the floor is yours. Break it down for the ladies.
All right. So I want to talk about just kind of like one of the first things is how Chinese medicine looks at life cycles, okay, in regards to women. So the wood phase, right, is between the ages of 1 through 14. For men, it's 1 through 16.
Okay.
The fire phase is 14 through 28 for women, 16 through 32 for men.
Okay.
The earth phase is 28 through 42 for women and 32 to 48 for men. The metal phase is 42 to 56 for women and 48 to 64 for men. And the water phase is 56 to 105 and 64 to 104 for men. Okay. Now these are all negotiable because, things change, right? Yeah. Things are always in a constant change. The thing that we need to recognize is the fact that we are in phases, right? And so there's this thing that people want to stay at youthful, right? They never want to age. But the reality is that we are aging, and that's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Like there's a beauty to aging, right? Yeah. And so it's a matter of allowing ourselves to welcome the different phases that we have, that we're exploring in this meat suit that we have, right? Yeah. And so what does that look like, right? And so during the earth phase, which is 28 through 35 for women, right? It's the time that we stabilize our home, our career, our family. We orientate ourselves to time and space, our rhythm and orientation. We start building community. We have joy and fear at this time. And so we're laying down a foundation. So in regards to health, that's the beginning parts of like, what am I doing? How am I able to juggle all these things, right? And so during this time frame, you're looking at supporting and nourishing your earth, right? Because this is the earth time. Okay. And so what that means is you really want to support your digestion. Okay? Which means you don't want to be pensive and worrying about things. You want to allow yourself to go with the flow, keeping things balanced, nourishing and extracting the sweetness out of life, right? So that's where a lot of times where people will start having more issues, where I see women are going to start having more issues with their digestion.
Okay. During the earth phase.
During that time is where I see a lot of women who have a lot of digestion issues.
Now, for that earth phase, should there be adjustments to your water intake, to eating more fruits and veggies? Like, what do you recommend? Or is it going to be really precise to each individual human?
Even though it is precise to each individual human, we still always want to exist with the seasons.
Yes.
Because we want to be balanced and in harmony with the seasons at all times, right? We are one with Earth.
Yeah, you got to be connected to Gaia, Mother Earth, yeah.
And also, Mother Earth and Father Sky.
Yeah.
Right? And so because of that, to receive not just the physical nutrients, but the spiritual nutrients too. Right? This is where that intuition starts coming in, right? And if we think about it, if we think about it too, Eric, during this Earth phase, now we're starting to move into the Saturn return time.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the beginning parts of it. Trying to find like true self, first part of true self identity.
Yeah.
Right. As a changing adult. Right. As we move into that metal phase of like 42 to 49 and 56, that structure's already built, right? And we're putting things into place. We're sustaining our routine. We have our timing down, our rhythm and orientation. There's joy and fear of this time, because now we're looking at a lot of it is like, we're thinking about retiring. What does that look like? Our structural integrity. We've been working all this time. What is our future going to be looking like, right? And so during this metal phase is when we start looking at what do we have to surrender, and what do we have to let go of, and how that affects our hormones is changing of the phases, right? Where a lot of women are moving into that perimenopause, into menopause.
Right. Because, usually, if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, usually, I mean, every woman's different, but, really starting in the early 40s, they can start to, get into premenopause or sometimes early menopause, correct?
Absolutely. And then some women just go full blown because they have to get a hysterectomy. Right. And so that's
now explain to the audience, because I share this because I learned it from you, right? No cold water for the ladies, right?
absolutely.
And is there a certain age to make that adjustment where you should have room temperature or hot? Because we do a lot, wifey and I, we do the hot lemon water in the morning with essential oils. I haven't got a mosquito bite in almost 3 years, and I love it. Cleanses out the mucus, the gut. But explain that transition, and when should women be like, no more cold water?
Honestly, it should start at the very beginning.
Oh.
Because the thing with cold is that it creates what we call cold damage. It's one of those things that the digestion likes to be hot. It likes to be warm, right? And our uterus too. Like, do you want to go home to some place that's cold? No, right? If you're looking at having a baby, there ain't no baby gonna want to be at some cold place.
I know I don't want to be in no cold place.
Right? Nobody wants to be in some cold place, so you got to have it warm and inviting and welcoming. So you want to have it nice and warm. And so that means that, instead of having that coldness that creates pain, right? And it congeals the blood and the fluids, right? We don't want that. We want to have blood flow. And that's really important for us. And that's another reason why a lot of times women will have menstrual cycle pain. It's because of coldness, the ice.
Really?
Absolutely.
So like if you're like this, kind of rambunctious, hot 29 or 27 or 31-year-old lady or chick, and you're like, oh yeah, and you're drinking cold beers and cold water all the time, you're kind of messing things up down below?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. One of the worst things that you could possibly do is have an iced coffee.
oh, preach it. Let them know, girl. Preach it. I like that.
You talking about acidity, right? Right? Because coffee is acidic. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're also adding the cold. Okay. And that's such a bad combination. So, the thing with coffee is that it literally, it's dehydrating.
Yeah.
Right? It's dehydrating, but it's also wiring up and making the chi in the body tense. So it creates like this in the pulses, we feel it as a wiry, like taut, like a guitar string. And that's not good. Everything should be nice and chill. So which means
I've never heard that before. That's so deep, and I put it through the rinse cycle. Logically, it makes sense, and intuitively, my wife and I, we stopped drinking coffee. Probably over a year ago now. Once in a blue moon, we may have one cup, but we don't go back into it. I know for me, the coffee seems to help a little bit. And I want to ask you about that. Why does coffee seem to help you when you're dealing with allergies?
Because it's activating the liver.
Oh, so like a little bit of coffee every once in a blue moon is not bad?
Right,
Okay.
right. And that's and when you're saying like a little bit, you're talking about like not even 8 ounces.
Yeah, just one cup. Yeah, just one little
Hmm.
bit. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I do feel that, and that's how I judge it on me. Like I literally feel better or feel the benefits. But then
Hmm.
I go right back to my tea. Like, so like I don't get caught back up in the wheel of like, oh, coffee every day. No. Like I was dealing with extreme allergy since the 23rd, went through my, oregano oil, black seed oil, mullein leaf, soursop, all this stuff. Then I finally, because I guess my body's changed after the coma, and I actually had to get, and I hate antibiotics, but I had to get a Z pack, and I was glad that I did. You know what I mean? Because when you got to, you got to, and I did. But then I actually had a coffee one day, and it really helped. It
Hmm.
really did help with the allergies because they were, I mean, out here in Arizona, like sometimes they can get last 2 years worse than I've ever experienced. And I wonder if you've noticed that or with your patients, is there something changing or is it
And
just from all the spraying in the sky? Like what's going on? Because I've actually had to get antibiotics two springs in a row now.
well, like I tell you, I mean, everything is changing, right? The viruses are changing, the
Yeah.
pathogens are changing, like everything is changing, and
Wow.
that's one of the reasons why you got to be able to switch up your routine. So it's a good thing that you
Yeah.
did that coffee. It's not an everyday type of thing. One of
Right.
the
No,
things
I
is what about
totally do.
mushroom coffee, right? Well, okay, yeah, that's a good combination to be able to have, is a mushroom coffee.
Mm,
Again, feel yourself out and check in with your body, check in with yourself and ask, see, are there any signs of dehydration, right? What does that look like? Is, your skin, that'd be your most obvious one. The skin, are your eyes dry? Is the
mm,
skin dry, right? Is your mouth dry? Those type of things you want to check in with yourself after having that coffee, right?
yeah.
And is it possible to just have the mushrooms instead of adding the coffee, right?
Mm,
That's another thing, right?
yeah.
So, we're looking at going back to the women in this metal phase, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that you want to do during this time of like 42 to 49, 49 and 56 years of age is you want to start nourishing the yin a lot more. What does that mean? That means that you want to nourish the fluids more. So things like coffee are going to dehydrate you.
Right.
They're going to tax the yin. And so when you start becoming yin deficient, whether it be blood, because blood is also fluids, right? And women will become yin deficient because that's what happens. We bleed, and so we become yin deficient. Men will become yang deficient, which is chi, right? And so you want to start looking at what does the fluids look like in your body? And one of the great ways that you'll know is because nighttime is yin time. And so
Mm,
if you're flaring up with hot flashes during the nighttime, then you are definitely yin deficient. And so there are certain things that you will need to be taking, right? That personally, a Chinese medicine practitioner who does herbs will be able to customize that for you. And what will help, because yin is also introspective, it's zen, right? So
mm,
it's going to allow for you to be able to nurture and nourish that yin aspect of that spiritual part of self, to be able to be more reflective, to be more into that divine feminine,
yeah.
right? To allow yourself to be in that space of wisdom and nourishing yourself in that way. So there's some things that will help once you start tuning in a little bit more with working with the seasons, and also being able to just check in with yourself, noticing the dryness, noticing what is my energy like at different times,
Right.
and
Right.
going to your medicine practitioner for that, your Chinese medicine
And
practitioner.
I was going to ask you about with the hot flashes. And so with this metal stage in the yin, would you recommend something like ashwagandha or silajit for the ladies and more of the hydrating fruits like the honeydew, the watermelon, the blueberries? Like, how would you go
Mm-hmm.
with that?
Yeah, personally, like I absolutely love Shilajit, man. You know, I'll tell you something though, that Shilajit is warming. Do you take it?
No, I don't. So I'm kind of wondering, like,
I feel like, man, I feel like power when after I take that. I do a combination of moringa with the Shilajit.
yeah.
Woo, you know, because I like that combination of the green and and to nourish that yin aspect, but then the Shilajit is just like, man, I get so hot, and then I'll start doing my qigong right after that, and I feel like explosive.
Okay,
But
that's good.
you
Yeah.
know, it's very high for, you know, mineral intake, right? But it's also it has that tea as well.
And
So
is the sea moss beneficial for like the metal stage? I mean, I think it's good all the time, sea moss, but in terms of the
absolutely.
mineral intake and stuff.
Absolutely. The sea moss is wonderful for that metal phase.
Okay.
Absolutely. So anything that's going to be you know, very nourishing the the fluids, right? If we think about what is going to help. So anything that's like water based, right? We talk about the sea vegetables, but definitely that sea moss as well. So absolutely. And then somebody's asking Miss
Gonna
C.
say, let's check back in with the chat. Yeah.
Cece naturally is also asking, she suffers from allergies, so she takes decongestion seasonally. The pollen in her area is horrible. She's allergic to the grass in home and state. Thank you so much. You can definitely also consider doing some uh, homeopathics as well. There might be some people that are too sensitive to certain things, but homeopathy is a really nice way of being able to. There's specific ones for areas of your location.
Well,
So
she's
you
down
may
in Atlanta.
she's out in that's what I figured. I figured that she's not out here is what I was thinking.
Yeah, and so
So,
it's so interesting because I wanted to ask you about that because okay, so I don't know if you probably know because you stay up on stuff, but after these Aries solar eclipse, the next day Neptune entered Aries on March 30th until October 22nd, and Aries rules the head. So I'm
okay.
kind of wondering that may actually bring in because Neptune is water, confusion, illusion, deception, but it's escapism, pharmaceuticals, drugs, alcohol. So I've been trying to tell Aries and the cardinal signs in general, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, but everybody's got Aries in their chart, right? For me as a Scorpio rising, and I didn't realize this, but I know this with the medical astrology, Scorpio rules the sinuses, and I have sinusitis. It got worse after the valley fever, but I've kind of always had it. But Aries is in the sixth house of the health, hygiene, daily routine. So I'm thinking with the Neptune and Aries, we may see an uptake of allergies, specifically even more so for Scorpio or Aries rising, but even for the collective, wherever you have Aries in your house. And I was breaking it down last night. So, what are your thoughts on things to help people with sinuses, allergies? Whether it's different acupuncture techniques or specific herbs you could recommend, even
Absolutely.
processing this Neptune and Aries energy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you'd want to do is, which I just finished doing, was a liver detox, which means you're going to have to change your game on your digestion, right? Because you're going through a detox. So no meat, no sugars, no carbs, no. And I did it for 10 days, and no. Processed foods,
Yeah.
right? So what I did was I made a detox soup, right? I made a detox soup, and so vegetables with some Chinese herbs in there
Okay.
to help with digestion, and then also some sea vegetables as well. And I pretty much had that as my main meals, and then again, there was no meat, and so that was a really nice change for me. And so the other thing that you could do, which I do on a regular, is you want to get yourself like a gua sha tool. They have those on Amazon or wherever, and what you want to do is you want to
Find it somewhere else. You're not shopping at Amazon.
I just got shot down. What?
I'm joking, but I'm not joking. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think right now we need to all, as the collective, right, be intentional with where we spend
It's,
our dollars.
it's true.
You
It's
know,
true.
we
And
got to
you
stop
really,
supporting these corporate
I mean,
billionaires
I
and
mean,
really get
honestly,
local mom pop. You know,
all you need is one of those like Chinese spoons if you want to go that route. Like you can literally like use anything, right? And what you want to do is you want to like, you know, go along this area here, go along the glands right up in here. And I'm talking daily, right? Like
okay.
twice a day. Hopefully y'all be washing your face twice a day. Okay. Do it while you're, after
Hello.
you brushing your teeth and such, you get your gua sha, and then you do this area, right? Your glands up in here. I like to go right up in here because that's also connected to the lungs, right?
I do a lymphatic kind of massage
Exactly,
in the
Eric.
morning,
Exactly. That's
right? So the here, dispense it out here,
yeah.
under the arms,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
armpit, the
Oh
back
yeah.
of the knees, the
Yep.
pelvic, and
Yep.
then down. You release it down at the ankle, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do a whole series like that in my qigong training. So yeah, I do that every morning.
See?
you
I,
know,
I know a little something.
you
I
know
try.
That's what's up. Yeah, so that's what you want to do. You can do that gouache. Another really good thing that you can do is obviously get an air purifier. You don't have that, you could steam, right? You could do some eucalyptus oil,
Oh yeah.
and you put it in some hot water. You can steam your face with
I
it,
need to start doing that more. I
right?
forget about that, the eucalyptus and the steam. I put it, in herbal
Yeah.
in the lemon water, but I need to breathe it in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are other things, but really, it's a big part of it is also digestion, right? So you want to make sure you're not eating like phlegm producing type of foods.
Yeah, well, no, I don't do the dairy and I don't really do the meat, so I try to stay away. We've been on a kick. We started we're doing the master cleanse in December, and
Okay.
then we made a dedication because we felt so good and we actually like lost a ton of weight, but we weren't doing it for that. But then we were like, okay, 2025, each month we're going to do at least a week to 10 days of water fast, fruit juice, just like a master cleanse or fast. And we've been doing it. So April, we were going to start. We actually kind of started today, but we were just dealing with so much. So then we were like, okay, Easter's coming. So now we're going to do it late in April. We're going to do it, probably the 21st or 22nd after Easter, and then finish it out. So, but it's been really beneficial. January, February, March, April. It's been so great. So I've been sharing it with the audience, and the master cleanse. We did the cayenne pepper, which is, we've talked about that before. That's really awesome for everybody to use the cayenne pepper, right?
Hmm.
Except for, I remember you told me, except for if you've got the blood pressure, right?
Right. And if you're already hot, yeah, you got to be careful with that.
Okay.
So let me ask you something, Eric.
Yeah.
One of the big things, right, that people a lot of times people will forget is body movement. Are you doing any body movement?
I am, because I'm in this chair all day. So
Yes.
I
Good.
will ground in earth and nature.
Uh-huh.
I lift weights 7 days a week. I am not daily on the stretching. I need to do that more. And I walk every day. But I've
Okay.
got to start to stretch. And I'd like to do it in the morning and at night. And so I'm going to try to, I'm very disciplined when I want to be. But sometimes I get so busy working for these amazing people in the collective that I forget. But because my butt is in this chair all the time, I definitely go for a walk and I ground in earth and nature. And that's my saving grace. I connect with my tree, I connect with my ancestors, I meditate, my positive affirmations, do the same in the shower. And I really need to stretch more and definitely, and sometimes what I'll do, because they always talk about how beneficial this is. And I don't know if you guys do this in the audience, but it's really helpful to just out of nowhere be walking and then just take off and run as fast as you can, because it activates what is it the not endorphins or the dopamine, or like that fight or flight, and
Yeah,
it's
the
very
adrenaline.
good for your muscles and your body to
Right.
just like all of a sudden just boom, go full speed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do that too,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
really
So,
I find it
and
good.
so when I say body movement, it's really the combination of of a mind, breath, and body.
Yeah,
And so, like that's why yoga is really awesome.
Yes, and I got
You
to
know,
get back to the yoga. Ugh.
Tai Chi is another one, but most people don't know Tai Chi. Yoga is like more readily available, but I am working on becoming a Tai Chi teacher. So it's going to take me a couple more years because I'm under construction right now still.
You always stay busy. Let's go back to the chat because I think we got some more questions and see what
All
the
right,
people
let's
are
move
asking,
back.
because this
Let's
is
see.
so much information. I love it.
So one of the questions was, do I take the Shili Jing capsule form? No, actually, I do it as a tar form. That's I had taken it in this little small tiny pill, but the tar form, it works. I don't know. I kind of like it better. It's so I just do
Well,
like
that's how I like my black seed oil. I take it straight shot with the liquid. I've gotten the pills, but I didn't like the pills as much. I like the liquid, and I'm kind of like I'm Rambo, rough and rugged. I don't even put it on the spoon. I just like shots in the head of the black seed oil.
Me too.
My wife and kids look at me sometimes, and I'm like, "What? Like, y'all got to get it in there. Let's do it." Wow.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Okay, there's another question
Yep.
about, let's see, Reynolds.
Yes.
Would I work with ghost points? Yes, I have worked with ghost points. Yes, yes, I would work with ghost points.
Wow. What now? I don't know what that is. What is that?
There are 13 ghost points, and they are, they're all used for different types of esoteric type of things.
Okay.
And so, that's there's a couple of different ways to use it. Some you could just needle all of them at the same time, or one right after the other. There's so sometimes there's patterns. It all depends on how do you want to work it. It per individual.
Okay. One more question, and then I want to ask you the benefits of something and stuff.
Sure. So let's see. As an allergy sufferer, lymphatic drainage makes a big difference, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was talking about body movement. There was somebody who said, yes, liver is key, and I agree with you. Empower Me 802.
Yeah, that's
is really important.
yeah.
The digestion is as well, and liver is a part of that digestion part of it. So making sure that we're eating properly is really, really important. Again, eating with the seasons and making sure your phlegm production is like as low as possible. But the body movement is really, really important because that helps with that liver to be able to flush things out easier.
Yeah.
So,
well, I tell people, right, summer's coming.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I notice sometimes summer, it's a weird mixed bag, for people, because I hear different things from different clients and stuff. I tend to try to eat good all year round, but I know summertime people get lax because they're being social, right? They're partying, they're at the beach, they're there, and this friend's got a barbecue, and this one's doing a cookout. So then they're eating like random chips and more meats, and someone's cooking and barbecuing this. But then at the same time, you'll have a lot of people who they go OD and they get a lot of good, healthy fruits, the watermelon, all the hydrated melons. So what in terms of in traditional Chinese medicine, in terms of summer with the heat, what is really the best for our bodies to be eating? And does it depend on if we're in a metal, earth, or wood stage?
So it does depend on what phase you're in because right? But still in the summertime, things that you want to do, like most of the time that you're going to be out there barbecue time, right? That's the summer. Summer food is like barbecue food, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like more greasy type of foods,
Ugh.
hot and greasy type of foods. So they're hawthorn berries, okay? And it sounds really interesting, but shanza is actually great for what they do in China is they'll make a tea out of shanza, which is hawthorn berry, right? And so that helps to be able to break down the grease, the fat. And so it moves it. Chenpi also is tangerine peel, right? And so those two, the combination of those two, so now you have chenpi, which is a mover, right? So it helps to digest and move the food, and then the shanza, the hawthorn berry, will help to be able to break up the fat and the grease in the body. So that way, you know, you don't have cardiovascular problems.
So wait, I gotta ask you another thing. So I tried this, I see these videos on IG, and me and wifey tried it. I got, right now a little left wrist pain, my right foot and ankle hurt, and I'm like, ooh, Mars and Cancer and Pluto Aquarius are jacking me up, right? So I tried the avocado pit in the rubbing alcohol, right? In alcohol. When I sprayed it the first time, I did it after, I guess, maybe I think wifey had it soaking for 24 hours. I didn't notice that, any real difference or help. So now it's been soaking like for like a week. So I'm going to try to spray it tonight after the show. Have you seen benefits, or have you heard about that? The avocado pits with the alcohol?
No, I've not.
Yeah, it's supposed to be this old remedy. So I'll let the audience get an update, and I'll let them know, next time I come on, or in my community post. But I've been interested because I've been seeing a lot of testimonials of people saying, "Oh my God, it works so good. Put that on and spray. It can heal pain and stuff like that." So we're going through a lot, leaving the 3D, going into the 5D, saying goodbye to the Piscean age, to now the age of Aquarius. And what's great, as souls, we chose to be here. So we're built for this. We're very brave. And, here on Earth School, just coming here, you have to be extremely brave and courageous. So we're laying down the foundation. So what different health tips would you give us tonight for maneuvering through this ascension, right? With the M class and X class solar flares increasing, Gaia Mother Earth changing, our cells and DNA changing. What are some of the Chinese medicine, herbs, or foods you may recommend that can help us with our ascension to the 5D, along with yoga and meditation, but like herbs and food and stuff? What do you suggest?
All right. So herbs are going to be very different per person.
Okay.
That's just that's the things that you want to take into consideration for sure is helping your mind, your central nervous system, right? I think it's
Uranus, central nervous system, Uranus.
I think the some big key things is making sure that we're able to listen to our intuition. So it's a combination of having our gut healthy, having our heart healthy, and having our mind healthy, right? So if we think about foods, add color, right? Add color, because colors are connected to our organs. So for example, green is connected to the liver, right? Which is connected to the hun. White is connected to the lungs, which is connected to the pole, right? We have yellow that is connected to our spleen, right? We have red that's connected to our heart. And then we have our kidneys, which is like bluish black, right? That's connected to that water element, right? So if we have these different colors, different flavors as well, right? Then we're able to encompass the spirit of those organs. We're making a straight connection with the food. I think it's really key to stop eating out and enjoy our meals that are simple at home.
Yes.
Knowing where our foods are coming from our farmers, right? That's one of my favorite days is Saturday, because I get to spend time with you. I get to see your beautiful wife, at the farmers market. It's community.
She's like, I saw me.
And this is, when I'm cooking up and I'm busting out all my food, and I'm thinking about, I got it from this person and that person, and I'm cooking it up. I got my music going and I'm making my dish and such, and I'm looking at it, and I can see all of my people's faces on there, their families, like the love that I have, the gratitude, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it makes a difference.
It makes
And
a
I
difference.
think culturally, unfortunately, so many been people, and I think even I was watching some video and it made me kind of interested, but somebody was talking about, like, the reason why there's a talk about how Gen Z is aging and looking older than even millennials, is because they, the blue light so much on their face, but the Uber Eats and the fast food and always ordering for something and eating out and not cooking. And you're right that, that is really detrimental because you don't know how much salt they're using, how much sugar, the how fresh the food is. It's maybe not organic, like all these different things. But when you buy it from, farm to table and cook it yourself, you're all hands on with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Absolutely.
can control like what you should put in it and how much, or so that's very great advice and very important. Yeah.
And you're bringing in, you're drawing in all these different like elements again into it, right? You have, because you're drawing in these different elements, and where we're moving to is this new earth, right? This new earth, what does that really mean, right? It means connecting to this new earth, right? It's about community. The things that, the places coming from the heart, right? And so this allows for us to be able to open up our heart chakra, and to have that allows for our passion, our desires. We're able to align easier when we come into that space, nourishing ourselves in that way. It's a form of self-love,
Yeah.
right? And that form of self-love allows for us, again, that those are all states of health, right? It helps our central nervous system. It helps our ability to be able to create healthy boundaries. It allows for us to be empowered in a lot of different ways, right? It's taking back that ownership of what is health care,
Mm.
right? And so it gives us a certain part of self that nobody else can give us but ourselves, right? So it, that is a big key, is let's start working on feeding ourselves,
Amen.
and and let's make that a 2025 goal for us,
Yeah.
right? What is, let's make it where it's 80% where we are feeding ourselves and 20% we go out,
Yeah.
right? And if we do go out, it's not just for junk.
Yeah.
We're going out because we're going to spend time with family or friends to connect, right? And so therefore, it still has a loving and kind relationship around the food. It's not like, oh man, I'm just tired and I just need to put something in my stomach.
Yeah.
No, those days are over.
Yeah.
Let's leave that in the past. That didn't work before.
And I love you're saying that because that's what I've been telling people. I mean, like we have to be maniacal, intentional about
Yes,
our spiritual discipline, about our food
absolutely.
choices, about the
Yeah,
positive self-talk, right?
yeah.
About the compassion and empathy for others. Like
Hmm.
we have to literally, you guys, and I've been saying this forever, become the president and leaders of our own lives, but say goodbye to the old structures and systems. They
Yes.
didn't really serve us. So
Nope.
why are we holding on to it for dear life? Like as if we're nothing without it. No, you're not.
Right.
When you don't have the old structures and systems, you will then walk into your sovereignty and see your own real, true, authentic power.
Absolutely.
I don't care what they're doing in DC. None of my business. It's
None of my business.
foolishness.
Exactly.
Foolishness.
Let's look at right here, right now. All right. I do want to talk about a couple of herbs though, because I know some people are like, what, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give 'em
Ooh.
the.
So we have Husha Wu. Okay.
I never say it again.
Husha Wu.
Oh, I don't know this. Okay.
Okay. Husha Wu is, and I'm gonna put that into I don't know if that's a private chat or what, but Husha, oops, wrong
Yeah,
one.
yeah. No, you could type it in the chat. I think.
Husha Wu. Husha Wu, okay. Husha Wu, it is a single herb, and that's gonna help build blood. It's gonna help to, nourish the brain, help nourish the blood, and it's gonna help tonify the chi. It's going to help with so many beautiful things, bringing even the karmic spiritual aspect of Husha Wu is just so beautiful, so
Mm.
beautiful. The intelligence behind it, it is a root. And so because it is a root, it goes deep down into the earth and has
Ah,
so much wisdom.
that's
So Husha Wu
important.
is a beautiful one. Here's another one that I'm going to tap in here for you, okay, which is Huang Qi, okay, and then you know it as, most people may know it as astragalus, okay, and astragalus is one that is going to help. You know, when I was in China, there was this whole documentary on astragalus, on Huang Qi, and what it does is it actually helps the telomere tail. Okay, that's how one is able to determine the age of a person is through the tail of the telomere, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it helps to grow the tail of the telomere.
So if you do that and increase your meditation, those telomeres could really grow.
You
Then
know
you
what I'm saying?
then you're here for 3 digits like me, because I ain't going nowhere.
There
I'm
you
here.
go. There you go. There you go. And
That's
that's really a
awesome.
well, that's a beautiful one for the lungs. You know, a lot of times
Really?
people are having, yes, a lot of times people are having issues with lungs, and so that's a really beautiful one. You know, that you could actually add the Huang Qi, in which I do, you know, into your soups.
Okay. I was gonna say, would this be good for a tea or a soup?
Yeah,
Soup?
you can add that. You can make that into a tea. You can add it with the Hushel Wu, but you could definitely add the astragalus into your soups. I do that all the time.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And so, let me see. I'm gonna
You need to
put.
keep this list for wifey, or hopefully she's watching it. This is good. Go ahead.
I'm gonna add another one here, lotus seed. Okay,
Oh yeah.
and then the next one is goji.
Goji. And this is all really, good, you're saying, for just for this time in our ascension. Well, tell me what your thoughts on ashwagandha.
Hmm.
Is it good for both genders? Because I'm hearing that it can be good for both men and women, right?
Wanda's fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, I would have to say Shazandra. Ashwanda is a beautiful one. Shazandra is another fabulous one. Wawitsa is a five. It's got the five flavors. So
5 flavors?
yeah. So
Say it again. What is it called?
Wawitsa, it was Shazandra.
Wawisha? Wawisha?
Uh-huh. Wu.
I've never heard of this. Okay.
So
So you
Wawitsa,
guys, we're learning tonight. I love this. Thank you so
Shazandra.
much. Oh my God. Now,
Shazandra.
are all these going to be found more in a traditional Chinese herb shop, or, the health food store, the Chinese health food stores? Like, where could, or you think local farmers markets would have these, or?
You should be able to find them like online for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
And
yeah,
powders, pills, or herb?
it all depends how you want to take them,
Okay.
right? So just know that oxidation does occur. So which means that if you're doing the powder, it's going to be oxidized
Okay.
faster, right? Versus in its more natural rawest form,
Okay.
right? So the lotus seed as well with the astragalus and the goji, you can add all those into a chicken soup or a
Mm.
vegetable soup,
Yeah, I like vegetables.
right?
I don't eat
So
chicken.
yes, so you could add the astragalus, the lotus seed, and the goji berries into a vegetable soup, no problem. The shizandra and the hushel wu, you could take those together, um, and those are going to help. Like the shizandra is also a very excellent liver protective as well. So it's an adaptogenic herb which helps with stress, but it's also going to be protective of the liver.
So, two quick questions I have, and then before we wrap up, I want you to go back and just maybe grab a couple more questions from the chat, because people are really loving all your insight and knowledge. Two things. So, um, for the ladies, because we didn't really touch on this so much, any specific helpful hints or tips with the post menopause, right? Because this is kind of maybe a little after the metal, and
Right into that water phase, right?
yeah, so give us a couple of, herbs or tips, or just how women should integrate that. I'm thinking about the women who have kind of like, I survived menopause, but now it's like post-menopause. What's that kind of adjustment that they've got to go through?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I do with the women that I work with in regards to at this stage in their life is their fitness is very important. So you having to maintain
Especially them squats. Keep the legs strong.
right,
Yep.
keeping your legs strong, making sure that you're doing some sort of lifting.
Okay.
That's going to be important because you need to keep your bones strong. So, and again, that's where things like, you know, eating light and not heavy.
Okay.
So, making sure that the meals are smaller meals because you don't need to digest so much
Yeah.
time, right?
And do you like to recommend like eating with the circadian rhythms of the sun? The
That
biggest meal between like 10 and 2 or 10 and 3
absolutely.
and no eating after sunset?
And absolutely. And the first thing that you should definitely have is not cold yogurt, right? Like, no, that's not the business. You should be having, like, in Chinese medicine, we have, what is known as kanji. Kanji is, and I'll put it in here. Kanji is a wonderful way to be able to, and it's kind of like overcooked rice
Mm.
with a lot of water. And it's like almost like a cereal, but not.
Okay.
And and so they putting different, like, you could put in like the goji berries, the lotus, and the astragalus into the kanji
Mm.
and make it with other veggies if you want as well, right? And so it's sustainable for the digestion, but again, it's smaller meals and it's warm meals, so
Yeah.
not a lot of cold stuff. A lot of times people want to have like salads, so not having a lot of salads, but having more warm foods and smaller meals,
Yeah.
right? The other thing that, um, again, making sure that you're having like the sea vegetables because that's going to maintain, like, the sea moss is important. It's got the minerals that a body needs, right? And also things that are going to continue to move the blood. So there's certain herbs that you could use to be able to move the blood,
Okay.
right? So the Husha Wu is definitely one that you can use during that time that is safe for majority of people, to be honest with you, especially because you got to be careful if people are using blood thinners,
Oh.
right? You can't move blood too much, right? So you
Right.
got to be careful with that. And so that's why I'm like, Husha Wu is one where it's like, yeah, that's a good one, in
See,
combination.
my goal is to get people off of that stuff, right? To get
Right.
off of the pharmaceuticals.
Right. And a big part of how you do that is through your foods.
Yeah.
Because if you have, like what I was telling you, if you have things that are clogging up the arteries, right? If your LDL is up and your HDL is down, we need to flip that over, right? And so how do we do that? I was talking about the hawthorn berries, right? Hawthorn berries is a really good one. So having more teas as well,
Yeah.
whether, teas are great, whether it be even green tea. Green tea is awesome,
I'm a tea junkie. Shoot.
right?
I've been drinking like 3, 4 cups of tea a day.
All the time, all the time, all the time. So, having more tea is one of those things that's going to help with maintaining, healthy blood glucose levels. Whether it be if you already have diabetes or pre-diabetic, maintaining those type of things, like, teas help a lot
Okay.
to flush out the the digestion in a healthy way, right? Moving the assisting the metabolism of the food, right?
Yeah. That's
So
awesome, yeah.
certain teas that you can have, you got to be careful with it not being too warming. Sometimes ginger can be a little bit too warming for certain people, for
Mm.
the gut. So you just got to be careful with that. And like peppermint is always a good one, especially for opening up the nasal orifices for allergies, opening up the mind if things are feeling like you're feeling congested. Like peppermint is great for opening up the orifices.
Okay.
So, um, let's see, what's a couple of other things that that would be ideal for women who are in their menopausal state. Another really good one is like ginseng,
Mm,
right?
okay.
So ginseng is going to be excellent for even for men
Yeah.
at that age, right? To be able to stay strong with and tonified, the longevity aspect of it, you know. So don't be afraid of it. It's
Okay.
definitely not like caffeine, but it does provide a nice tonifying aspect to the body.
So, okay. So before we go to the chat, my other last question is, there's been this whole craze. Everybody's going to Costa Rica. Everybody's going to Peru. They want to do the ayahuasca. They want to do the microdosing, all this stuff. With where we're at spiritually now and the veil being so thin, um, just intuitively, are you feeling that is this a good time to do some of those practices? And if so, is it, because I was talking to a group the other day and they were saying, if you're going to do it, go to the place where it's from, like go to Peru. Don't like just do it like in Arizona or LA, like go to Peru, so what are your thoughts on the ayahuasca, the mushroom microdosing and just that, maybe in general, but specifically even in 2025 with these planetary alignments?
Yeah, the I have a sister, a qigong sister, who lives out in Peru,
Mm,
and she travels all over the world. But one of the things that she brought up, which I never even thought about, is because of how people there's such a great big demand of people who are doing this now
I
that
know.
they're not allowing for the plant to be able to grow to its full state of wisdom.
Aha.
And so infants, they're having infant spirits. And
Ooh,
that's not what you want.
no.
And
And see, this is why I knew to ask you because I'm intuitively feeling, no, not right now. Like, wait, like, I don't know. But go ahead, continue. Sorry. I love this.
yeah, so the other part to it is, why are you doing it?
Hmm.
Are you trying to, is this like fast food? Are you trying to spiritually, you know, cheat yourself out? Do you not want to do the work?
Because you got to do the work no matter what.
You got to do the work no
Especially
matter
that
what.
shadow work. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's not pretty. And yes, it is hard and it is very painful, but you don't have to do it alone, you know? And so, that's a big part of like, okay, you go out there, you do it, and what tools you receive after that to be able to continue to do the work that you need to do to go deeper.
Yes.
Those are some like missing ingredients to all of it. Because there's some people who are just like ayahuasca junkies, man. Let's just say it
No,
is, right? I see them out there.
I know.
And so, you know,
I know. Because I've been listening to people. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay.
oh man. I mean, it doesn't call to me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't call to me at all. I do the work. I do the work.
Yeah.
But
See,
I
and
do the work every day, Eric. I
yeah.
do the work every day
I
on my.
know, and that's what I'm about. And what's so funny? When you do it every day, it's not work, it's just life.
That's right.
It's just part of your routine
That's
is
right.
transmuting, introspection,
Hmm.
self-love practices, positive affirmations. Like when it becomes, you guys, a part of your life and your daily routine, that sixth house, it's not work.
That's
It's
right.
it's just Tuesday, it's just Monday, it's Friday, it's you know what I mean? And I think that that's where I want people to get to in terms of the ascension. The ascension, it's not like you're going out to another planet. The frequency is right here. You got to just raise your vibration and frequency and then, think differently, choose differently. I always go back to the Bible, Lot's wife, right? Turning around, yearning for the old world, she turned to stone, right? We can't yearn for Sodom and Gomorrah now. You can't be yearning for Hollywood and DC. Say goodbye. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for real, people, it's not a joke. It's not a game. Okay.
But Eric, what's wrong with going to another planet?
Oh God, there's nothing wrong with going to another planet, girl. Listen, don't get me started. Listen, but that other planet could still be here.
It
You know
is.
what I'm saying? So I mean, it's all deep, but I totally agree with you.
It is.
So okay, let's take a couple more questions in the chat before we go, and then I want you to share, all the contact information again, because some people may just want to like, hey, can I talk to you on the phone? Can I book something over the internet? Like, can you help me remotely, long distance? So, I really want that opportunity so people know how they can connect without me, because you guys, in an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, it's not even barely cracking the window to the wealth of experience and knowledge this woman has. I'm telling you. When I have people on my podcast, I vouch for them because, I've this and that, but this is different. This is a different level of vouching because I know her personally and she's helped to heal my body. Okay. So when I tell you this woman is amazing and no joke, I mean it from the depths of my heart because, listen, you have a special place in my heart. You already know that, but it was really hard for me when I first got home. And that whole journey and process. And you were so welcoming, but just it felt like a multi-dimensional healing. You know what I mean? And it just, it makes me like emotional because you remember,
Oh, Eric, I love you, man. Thank you. That's really sweet.
Thank you.
Okay, so what should I do for cold feet? I cannot go to bed without socks. Miss Teresa Miller.
Well, listen, I would just say this. Even in the summer, I sleep with socks on too. I don't want my feet bare. Nuh-uh. That's like I get a chill on me and I am ruined. So I hear you, Teresa. Ain't nothing wrong with wearing them socks. Shoot.
One of the things that so I would have to ask, like, okay, do you feel hot anywhere? Do you feel hot in your trunk, right? The trunk of the body? Because maybe the heat is trapped in the trunk of the body. So if that's the case, then you take one approach versus another approach, right? But either way, what you can do is, we got this thing called moxibustion, and so moxibustion therapy, I think I mentioned it earlier, right? And so moxibustion therapy, this is one version of moxibustion therapy, right? And so you get it online, right? You need to have, which I don't have here around me, but you get a snuffer, or you can make one, right? You could use a bowl, put some sand in it, not wet sand, but just dry sand.
Okay.
And you can use that to be able to snuff out the cigar moxibustion. And so what you want to do is you want to light one end of it. You make it really hot, like volcanic red hot.
Okay.
You blow on it, right? And so what you want to do is, I'm going to show you. There's a couple points. There's one here, right here, which is kidney 1. If you just type in kidney 1 acupuncture point, right? And so there's that point here, right, which is connected to, as you can tell, the feet, but on the ground as well. So that is where our bubbling springs, where we draw energy in from earth chi. But then you also can do Zusan Stomach 36, right, which I talked about earlier. And if you use your hand, right, and put it right under your knee, right, and you go right under your knee, your hand, and it's going to be that point, stomach 36. And so again, you can do moxibustion on both of those points right there, okay? And if you do moxibustion on those points, okay, how you want to do it is you could do a circular clockwise, or you could do spiral pecking, right? And so how you want to do is you want to make sure that you just don't hold it onto, put it onto the skin and just hold it. You don't want to do that. So you want to do clockwise and then spiral peck, right? And as you're doing this, you want to put the intention of the energy going into the channel, into the point, into the channel, into the point, right? And so that is going to, one, it's going to start building a lot of blood and warming up the channel. And it also is going to help to tonify chi. And they say that in the classics, they say that if when you do it to stomach 36, it's like eating a whole chicken because it's that nourishing and tonifying.
Wow.
Right?
Gosh, that's deep. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you can get those. There's all kinds of different types of moxa online.
Okay.
So, but you can find them online.
Mox.
Moxibustion. And you can reach out to me. I know Alana has said, hey, do you sell this stuff? I can definitely, make it where
I have extremely cold feet too, and it was even worse when I was in the hospital. Before I left the hospital, and then I went to the rehab. Every day, Alana would come after I did like my 2 PTs and 2 OTs. My feet were freezing, and she would come and massage and rub my feet for me. I've always had like issues with circulation in the hands and feet, but obviously after kind of dancing on the other side, I mean, my feet were like ice cubes. They were like bricks. They were like so cold. It was absurd.
Right. Yeah. So the blood's not moving to those areas, right?
Yeah.
So the heat is also with the blood, and so that's you wanna use the moxa. You're very welcome, Miss Miller. You want to use the moxa to be able to move the energy of the blood, and then also the warm.
I'm glad you got Teresa's question. She was very excited about you coming on tonight. So I know she wanted to know some stuff. I love that. I tell you, these people are amazing, and let's take maybe one more question or one or two, because I know that people got some. Wow, we got so many questions and people here. So you pick whatever. But
Let's see, who do we have here? Okay. Let's see. Would very much appreciate herbs that support brain retention.
oh, that's a great question. Who asked that?
So that is Miss or Mr. Excuse me, Renee Reynolds. Could be, yeah.
Okay.
So Renee Reynolds. So okay. Oh yeah. So Ahmad says Dopa Mucuna, 15% L-Dopa, Rhodiola rosea, KSM 66, ashwagandha, and ginkgo. But that's a great combination. Honestly, that is a really good combo. Yeah, and I definitely would add in some like lion's mane for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, some lion's mane is really good. So the mushrooms, I'm really big on mushrooms. I love the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then let's see, is there anything else that I would add in? And again, one of the things that you want to look at is it blood? Is it Jing, which means like constitution genetics, right? You have to look at that. So you got to look at age. And then the other part of
The ginkgo biloba is good too, right? Okay. Did we lose on me real quick? Hold on. Let me bring her back in. Sorry, you guys. Hold on. Let me get my thing to bring her back. Yeah, I guess that ginkgo biloba, that really threw her off with that one, huh? Let me, of course, I got a pop up here. So let's see. Okay. We got you back. Hold on. Let me.
you got me back?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
No, I got it. There we go. So the ginkgo, I guess the ginkgo biloba really made you say goodbye.
It's just like vamoosed. So,
So is
you
ginkgo
want
biloba good? And then I know with dementia and Alzheimer's, CBD and THC is beneficial as well too. But give us your thoughts on the ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, the Bigo is really good. The ginkgo biloba it is very good. It's one of those that helps with again opens up the blood uh, the vessels of it, right? So it allows for the blood to be able to move faster. And so it's not just for the brain. That's the
Okay.
great part about it. You know,
Wow.
throughout the entire body. Like ginkgo is an excellent herb.
Yeah.
Ashwagandha is really good too, for
Okay.
sure. And definitely, I would throw in some lion's mane into that.
Yeah. Line
Hmm.
is good. So, and what are your thoughts on the CBD and the THC?
The CBD and the THC, you know, it's I there's definitely some benefits to it. Definitely some
Well, I know
benefits.
it helps with the inflammation.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I know firsthand because I would help and use it with my mom. And she would, with
Yep.
her dementia, she would become more verbal, when she got like the CBD. Like,
That's
I mean, literally, like I would just see it. I'm like, whoa, like, okay, you talking, girl. How you doing? Like, welcome back. Like, like it was really, it was cool.
And I think a big part of that has to do with like when there's inflammation, because pain causes inflammation, distress causes inflammation. When the inflammation is down, it allows for the spirit of the body to be alive again, rather than being so taken down by it, right?
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why, like, the end of life type of work, you can use acupuncture as regular home visits to be able to help people to transition, whether it be
Mm.
for helping with pain, or
Wow.
being able to help them to just be a little bit more alive, when family's going to be coming over. So there's, digestion issues as well, right? I know I've worked on two patients like that to help.
Wow.
So that's another way that you can create that healthcare team for yourself, using Chinese medicine and integration of that.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really powerful and important. You want to take? I think we may have another question because people are like really want to know different stuff. This is so great.
Let's see. What do we have here? Let's see.
Wow.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's any.
Thank you for the great questions, you guys, and just I'm so glad to be able to share on me with you. And you know what? Listen, this is like people are loving it so much. As the seasons change, would you like to come back in the fall to kind of prepare us for fall and winter and just maybe see where
Oh,
you're at and then help people with those seasons and
that
stuff
sounds
like that?
that sounds beautiful. And you know what I'll even do is I'll even create, and then maybe we can post that open to the community, some little ways of like actual programs is what I'll do, you
Okay, yeah, that would be
specifically for that time frame.
okay for autumn and winter. Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I think that 2025,
Hmm.
I got a funny feeling. I'm talking about health now, but come September, October, we're gonna really have to up our health game. I'm just intuitively sensing that.
Hmm.
So yeah, you may have to come back like right around that fall equinox around September 20th, somewhere in there. It's going to be very beneficial and important information. So let's get that on the calendar for the collective. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be really good.
And just to let you know, I'm looking to be in China like during like right in the middle of November, probably to the end of the year.
Okay, so I'll catch it before you go. Yeah. I'm
Sweet.
thinking like right before autumn, like right in that, like towards you know, like right after my birthday.
That sounds beautiful. I'd love that, Eric. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And, the community is fabulous, Eric. Everybody's pitching in and
Thank
helping each
you.
other. And Alana's doing such a great job in
Well, can I
bringing.
tell you, my audience is so well informed and knowledgeable. And when I get to meet these people, and you've been to Coffee Talk, so it's a family affair, but
True.
it's such a great experience. And I just had Coffee Talk this past Saturday, and it was awesome. And I just love, you know, meeting them. You know what I mean? Like to me, this connection is awesome, but it's not enough. Like I want to like see their faces and talk to them. And so this is really such a powerful vehicle. And, I'm getting ready to start a community. And so, it'd be perfect. It's going to be, off of, online, my own private community. And, that's something that I was been meaning to talk to you about where maybe, you can drop in every once in a while and share, your insight and knowledge, about the traditional Chinese medicine and different things in the community. Because I've got like 11 major groups, and one of them is about health. So I think it would be really great if you wanted to, it's not like a heavy obligation for you, because I know you're super busy, but just even coming in and just dropping some information, helpful hints and tips and nuggets. I would be honored to, have you be a part of that, for my collective, because it's going to be great. You know me, I'm not going to build nothing, on the low. It's going to be like big, overgiving.
Yes, that would be really, really fun. Seriously, I'd love to be a part of that.
Okay,
Thank you
cool.
for the invite. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So as we go and get ready to say goodbye, just share how people can reach out to you and connect with you, and what you do offer for the collective that are not in Arizona.
Absolutely. So you're welcome to reach out to me. The best way is probably through my website, which is heartofhealingaz.com. You can also reach out to me. My number is 602-413-0424. Text is definitely the fastest. A lot of times I'll be with patients or doing something. So, I'll reach out to you. And you mentioned BigE Astrology, and I'll be sure to give you guys a good discount.
All right.
So that way everybody knows that, we're supporting each other here
Yeah.
in this journey, right?
Oh, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. I thank you so much, my friend. So tell the people, because you love astrology. How long have you been into like the astrology and stuff?
Oh man, I remember back in high school going 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 to the local bookstore and getting the magazines and looking at my horoscope, because it was illegal in my with my religion, everything.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
like now it's like, oh gosh, I mean, it's one of those things. How can I not use it, right? It's a part of my life at this point. You have to recognize like who's at play right now, and
Well, for
it
you
just makes
too,
so
though,
much. It makes
having
the
that,
stress easy.
yes, but you having that Leo sun in the eighth house, you're really, um, tapped in and connected. You know what I mean?
You know,
You feel that?
I do. I do. I studied through my Taoism. I've studied this nine square magic,
Right.
this magic nine square, and through there, I've been able to access a lot of information about myself and other people, and my ancestral like lineage is very, very strong, very, very strong,
Yeah.
and so my
And you're so connected to
spiritual
the
allies,
earth and herbs too. That
yeah.
Taurus fifth house and then the Leo sun in the eighth. Yeah, Capricorn risings are really, tapped in.
And you know what's wild, Eric, is like the more I do my practices and my training, and the more I'm connected, the more I'm aware that I'm becoming. And there is a tree over here where my healing haven is at.
Yeah.
And I tell you, there's all these humans that are passing by. Not one has noticed that it's been dying. And it was like literally hurting my heart.
Oh no.
How can nobody recognize, right? And so I told the tree, as long as I'm here, I will take care of you. And so
Oh,
I started giving it water. And
yeah.
I'll tell you, man, in a week's time, it's just like so happy. And I got hummingbirds that come and kick it with me when I'm doing my qigong out there.
Oh,
Like,
that's
it's the
awesome, man.
sweetest connection. You know what I mean?
I
And
love
I have
that. I
a
love that.
relationship with nature that's just like, it's beautiful,
And it's necessary.
right?
I and this is what I share with the audience. I tell them, I said, trust me, I am a Virgo times 10, and I don't do nothing if it don't work.
Mm,
And when I get outside and ground in earth and nature, talk to my tree, touch my
mm,
trees, I name my trees, my trees in the backyard. I I I love them, and but it works.
mm-hmm.
Grounding in earth and getting that Schumann resonance, taking off these synthetic rubber soles and shoes, getting those bare feet in the ground, in the grass, in the dirt, and the sand. It's important.
Well, we don't think about, like, we think about gravity, right? but we don't think about earth chi, right?
Mm.
And so because we got that yin and yang, right, happening, right? And so as we have the yang chi from the heavenly chi going down, we got that yin chi from the earth going up. Well, where's it going, right? And so that energy is going up inside of us into our channels, but also our taijipo, which is where all the chakras exist. Right?
Oh.
And so that's where our communication, and when we like root down, right? And when we root down and we root down deep into the core of the earth, we're able to start listening to what the spirits are saying to us, right? What the trees are saying, what the rocks are saying, right? We're starting to get connected on this whole different level of existence, of life, right? And this is where, intuition, this is where, the voices start coming in and start leading us different ways. Now, all of a sudden, the wind is blowing a certain way, and it's like, I gotta go that way. I don't know why, but I just gotta go that way.
I know. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what, my friend, this has been so much fun. You are truly a wealth of knowledge. I thank everybody for coming. Please reach out to Miss Aeimee Diaz, heartofhealingaz.com. And you have got a big, tremendous heart. I love the work you do for the collective, but for each individual soul and body, you really take that time to not just problem solve, but to energetically connect to each one of your clients. And I forgot I met someone not too long ago. I forgot who it was that I guess had worked with you. And I was like, oh, me? Oh yeah, I love me. I was like, I know, right, right. And it was just so cool because when you're out and about, and you meet people or whatever. And I forgot where it was. It was probably like when I was doing some astrology readings at Missy's Mysteries in Scottsdale or somewhere. But somebody had met you and worked with you, and I was like, oh, so and she was like, oh yeah, I know Aeimee. So it's just it's great. So you guys, this has been awesome. Episode 327 with the amazing Miss Aeimee Diaz. Please come back Friday night with astronumerologist Miss Kimberly Williams as we talk about the numerology for your businesses. And this is a good one. You're going to want to watch this one, Aeimee. She's going to break down for me, E-Complete, as the hip hop artist, my up and coming potential, maybe final. Everybody tells me don't say final, but for my third studio album, God told me to tell you. So she's going to break that down and just the numerology of everything and the directions I should take, but then also answer questions about everybody in terms of your businesses. And if you have a business or you want to start a business, this is the woman that can break it down for you on the numerology level. So it's going to be a great episode. So I'll see you Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Aeimee, again, thank you. And hopefully I see everybody this Saturday at Coffee Talk.
Yeah.
1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, only 65 minutes. Only there's a mini coffee talk, only $13. But I'm going to be talking about something very important: the transit of Saturn entering Aries.
Oh.
May 24th until November. So you don't want to miss this. This will get you all ready because this is going to be an interesting energy. So thank you again, my friend. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like, share, and comment, and share this episode. If there's an episode for you to share, this one is it. It can help so many people, and the people. They can all be helped to learn this knowledge, okay? And this is why it's called Knowledge is Love. And thank you, Aeimee, for sharing all of your beautiful insights and your knowledge, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you all for being here.
All right. Good.